What Twitch are you looking at? Are you on twitch.tv/webheads?
Yeah.
Mine thing says it's offline.
Refresh the page.
Why does everything hate me tonight? Yeah, it just says off.
You might want to go out and come back in, maybe. To,
and it's twitch.tv/webheads.
Yes.
The WebHeadz.
The WebHeadz. Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Somebody tried to steal our name.
There's some. What the heck is Freelance Thuggery?
That's the name of this show.
Oh.
It's in the Warzone category. That's kind of
You gotta change
interesting.
that. It takes the last thing you played and makes that the default category. It's kind of a thing with that.
I think we got up to 9 viewers last week when I streamed.
All right. I think we're good enough to go. What do you guys think?
All right.
Our donate link is still broken.
What you found the other day still broken?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, well, let's get this party started. Look at this. The first edition of the WebHeadz Freelance Thuggery TV Gaming and Tech Show. We have our guest tonight. Everybody sound off. Let's hear it. Let's start in the top left-hand corner. Who do we got?
How you doing? I'm the Black Knight.
And I'm Falling Down Fast, your host.
Phonics.
What order are we going in?
You're next.
I'm next. I'm Elise.
All right. And the last one left?
Why you know?
All right, there we go. There's the crew right there. And we're already having technical difficulties right out the gate. All right. Awesome. Look at that. We're streaming. We got 5 of us here. The crew's here. Thank you, Black Knight, for the intro and the scene transitions, which we'll use later. That's awesome.
problem.
So tonight's our first live stream, and we're just kind of muddling through this to figure things out. We're hoping to do more of these in the future. So any feedback is greatly appreciated. You can leave it right there in the chat. So tonight, on our first episode, we're going to talk about some gaming and tech news. But first, we want to talk to Chaos and Coffee, a.k.a. Elise Ironmonger, who is our Extra Life representative with Children's Miracle Network. So, Elise, why don't you give us a quick introduction?
Hi, I'm Elise. He said, I work with the Children's Miracle Network here in Greenville, North Carolina. And yeah, it's been difficult. It's been kind of a challenge over at the Children's Hospital with COVID. It's kind of shaken things up a bit. And within the CMN world, just kind of like with everything else, everything is getting canceled. I mean, everything that we, do and have done has just been so focused on face-to-face events and face-to-face campaigns with our national partners. And, we're just having to get really creative, which is why we're so excited that Extra Life is here and that, we've got this amazing platform that we are able to do digitally and virtually and most importantly, safely. Because, we want to make sure that everyone out there is safe, especially these kids that do get to go home from the hospital that, maybe going home with, more fragile immune system. It's really important for us to keep them safe. And this is an amazing way to do that. So, we're just so grateful that you guys are here. And I, of course, am excited to learn more about the gaming world. I don't know a ton about it, and I'm excited to join in.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. You've been a great resource for us the last few years. How long is the WebHeadz? We've been doing this maybe 4 or 5 years? Hey!
4 or 5 years, yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Look at that dude.
Look at that guy joining us.
Hello.
I'm digging the hair, man. I'm digging the ponytail.
The bun, you got the man bun thing.
There it goes. That's 2 out of 6. Oh, Hyphonics has got to get his on. We don't have any audio from you, Cordan.
I think he's yelling at other people.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
We don't hear you, Cordan.
Your little mute button's on.
Yeah, you're muted. There we go.
Technology.
Yeah, you would think you know how to do this. So, Josh, we'll get you brought up to speed here. Elise has given us a rundown of CMN, and we were just talking about how long we've been working with her through Extra Life. I think it's going on 4 or 5 years now. Is that correct?
I think so. We started it in, well, maybe it was 2016.
Mm-hmm. I
That
keep
was the
thinking about
first.
how many kids we've added between then. I think, okay, Richard added 2, I added 1, Josh, you added like, what, another 2 or 3?
I have 3.
3.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. That was some good dates. I wish I had brought some photography back from when we first started in the Children's Hospital. Man, that was some great times we had during those first streams with just a handful of us getting started. And over the last several years, we've made good progress. I think, how much money did we raise the first year? $1,500. I think we've doubled every
Yeah.
year. We've doubled. Last year
Right.
being $7,500. So um, with a little elbow grease and a lot of hard work from the team, we've doubled our fundraising efforts every year. So it's been great, and we look forward to many more. Um, at least the other day, you mentioned when we met as a team how much money CMN has raised through Extra Life so far this year and how much you're down. Can you give us an update on how that stands?
Yeah, I'm gonna run a report right now to see where we're at.
Oh, live data.
Live data, hold please. But I can say like overall, because like I said, everything's getting canceled, and I think we're gonna be about half of where we usually are, which is unfortunate, but I'm hoping that Extra Life, we've seen a steady increase with Extra Life, and I'm not expecting to see as much. 25,000 total has always been my goal, but I don't know, just with craziness, I'm not sure if that's going to be able to be hit. But right now, just for us, we're at $7,700 right now. We've got 30 people signed up for Extra Life total. So that's pretty good. It's over last year where we were at this time, so that's awesome. But like I said, I'm really hoping that we do increase with Extra Life because it is something that people can do at home and they can do safely, like we are right now. But we're raising awareness for the Children's Hospital and we're raising money for those kids. But we're doing it safely amid this pandemic, which is awesome. And not, and like I said, not a lot of, you can't do that with a lot of other events. And so we're really fortunate that Extra Life, is this kind of platform where we really can continue it and even do maybe more. And, in the past, we've kind of struggled getting everybody's schedules together or meeting at the hospital or meeting off site. But the pandemic has kind of forced us to do it this way and meet virtually. And I feel like I've met with you guys more this year, than in the past, which I think is awesome. And so I think it's just forcing us to kind of do things in a new and different way, but it might actually be better. So, but yeah, overall, I think we're going to be about half of where we usually are. But like I said, we're really hoping for Extra Life that it kind of takes off and that, people hear about it through, these different streams and that piques their interest, that the fact that they can really make a difference. And, I always try to tell people that 100% of all the funds that are raised, so every single year, all your hard work that you guys do, every single penny goes back to those kids in that hospital. So, and of course, it's more important now than ever. So we're very grateful.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about, and uh, it's a shame that we're in this situation where the pandemic and it's really impacting a lot of people hard financially, and donations are down. And of course, we understand that completely, but the need still
Hmm.
exists at the hospital with these kids. Can you
Yep.
tell us a little bit about how the money is spent at the hospital? You did mention that it's 100% of the proceeds go directly to the hospital. So when you donate through Extra Life and you donate through the webpage, which is completely tax deductible, by the way, 100% of
Yep.
those funds go directly to the hospital that a team supports. And we support the Maynard Children's Hospital in Greenville, North Carolina. So it's a beautiful facility. For those of you watching, feel free to Google it. It's a great addition to Vidant Medical Center in Greenville as a whole, and it's great for Eastern North Carolina. So, Elise, can you tell us how that money's spent and used in that hospital?
Yeah. So we do amazing things, and it's kind of it's from the teeny tiny things all the way to big things. And the cool thing that we do is funds that CMN raise are undesignated. So you guys can't say, hey, we want our $7,500 to go to the NICU, or we want to do this. We think it's really important to listen to the staff and the amazing doctors and nurses at the hospital. So how we do it is, every year we usually total raise about $1 million, and we take that money to the children's hospital, and we say, what do you guys need? You guys work with these kids every single day. You tell us where it needs to go. Because every year there's different, the needs change and shift. And so we kind of have a grants process where different departments within the hospital submit and say, we really need XYZ because of XYZ. And we have a whole committee that meets every single year and goes through every single one of those grants, because we want to make sure that your hard work and all the money that you guys are raising is put to good use. And so something really cool that we've done recently are these mannequins. And the most recent ones, we have, toddler size ones, youth size ones, but the most recent ones that we have funded are the new, like, neonates, like the teeny tiny babies, because obviously babies that are born in the NICU, they're really tiny, and their airways are really small, their veins are really small. And so with these specialized mannequins, these doctors and nurses can practice in those really tiny environments, so that when they are, obviously doing it on a NICU baby, they are totally skilled and ready to go. And so we're able to provide these mannequins of all sizes for the hospital with CMN funds, which is really cool. And then I know you guys have probably heard me talk about our Beads of Courage program. It's kind of that arts therapy that our Child Life program uses, where when a kid comes in and if they've got a chronic illness like cancer, this program helps kind of them go through that journey visually. So for each needle prick, they get a bead. For every different type of procedure, they get a bead. When their hair falls out, they get a bead. And so within this program, there's special beads called milestone beads. And so, for instance, I saw one of the pictures and it had like a safety pin, and I was like, that's kind of a weird bead to have on there, but it signifies a baby's first diaper change, because babies that are born in the NICU, they've got special stuff going on. And so the very first time they can have an actual diaper change, they get that special milestone bead. To us parents, it's like, that's not a big deal. We've changed a million diapers. But like for that baby that's born critical, that first diaper change is really, really important. So that just kind of stuck out to me. And then kind of along those lines, there's like a rubber ducky bead, and that represents their very first bath. Because obviously when babies are born super prematurely, their skin is really thin. They can't control their heat as well. And so some of those babies don't have their first bath for weeks or months. And so again, it to the normal person, that first bath might not seem like a big deal, but to these kids and these families, they're a really big deal. And so we're able to fund that program that kind of helps them. So, so then when that child's older, their parents can look at all these beads with them and kind of explain that journey that they went on, and be like, look what you went through. Look what, look how brave you are. And so it's kind of a really cool program that's something that we do fund every single year, because it's, always an ongoing need. And then the different equipment like the mannequins, they just tell us each year when they need to redo those, or what they need. So we do some really awesome things. But I do like to always tell people that, like, it's not my, like, I don't get to decide where the money goes. The people at the hospital get to tell us. So I've always thought that was really cool.
That's very cool. I don't think I knew that, even after working in the hospital
Mhm.
so long.
Mhm.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
What other things do you think that the audience would like to hear about that would be important for them to know from a Children's Miracle Network as a whole, and maybe not just necessarily Extra Life? What do you think's important for our audience to know?
Um, well, and especially in this pandemic, kind of our, saying has been kids can't wait. They can't wait for a cure. They can't wait for this pandemic to be over. There are at any given time we have 197 beds in that hospital for kids, and on most days, every single one of them is full. And so they can't wait. They need us now, no matter what else is going on in the world. And, you know, we know that people are losing their jobs and money is tight, but I also like to say $5, $10, every little bit helps, because if there are 10 people out there that are kind of on the fence and all those 10 people donate $5, it adds up and it really does make a difference. And so, the beautiful thing about CMN is just that it's always kind of a dollar at a time. And we really hope that people are touched and that they all come together, because it's not the 500 or the $1,000 gifts, which we love those, we will take those. um, but it's the small ones. It's the people that are just touched and want to help these kids no matter what the level. And so we appreciate anything, and everything adds up and makes a difference.
Awesome. Uh, is CMN going to run their typical their yearly marathon this year? Are they or what are they doing anything different? Are they going to live stream? How are they handling that this year?
We did something a little bit different again, everything. We usually do have our big telethon at the beginning of June, and that was not able to happen. So we did kind of a month of miracles instead, and we did kind of a focused on a peer-to-peer platform, kind of like what Extra Life is, and in hopes that people would, if they couldn't give, they would be kind of fundraisers on our behalf. And we kind of focused on social media again, because that was something that we could do safe and virtually. And it was okay. It was about half of what the telethon normally does, but considering the circumstances, we were really proud of how it went, and we learned a lot. And we're really hoping that we can have our traditional telethon next year. Um, but we learned some good things. We learned some things this year, digitally and virtually, that we can take and hopefully add on to next year when we can do our formal telethon. And we've loved having you guys set up at our telethon, to kind of get the word out. That has always been super popular, especially with the miracle kids that come in. So I really hope that we can do that again next year.
Awesome. It's going to be an interesting year as far as how things shake out with just everything in general. But we're going to keep pressing.
Hmm.
We're going to keep pressing forward here, and the webheads are going to keep moving. And we'll just change gears. We're a bunch of geeks here, all doing IT in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of engineering brain power behind us right here. So on the team, and the people who are not represented tonight as well. So I think we'll be able to do great things this year, um, and have really move our team forward. At least how if anybody has any questions or wants to donate, how do they get a hold of you to either sign up for our team or learn how they can donate materials or money? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. My last name's really long, so I probably won't give you that email. But a really easy one is just cmninfo@vidanthealth.com. And that comes to me. And if they have any questions or whatever, I can see those emails, and that's a really easy one for them to do. cmninfo@vidanthealth.com.
Awesome. At least I think we're going to get on to the tech news. So feel free to hang around if you want to
Okay.
nerd out with us. We're going to move into tech news and see what the guys have to say. So let's move on over to that.
All right.
What's
Thanks,
going
guys.
on? Yeah, thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it.
Hmm.
What do you guys think? So on my list today, I don't know if you guys brought anything. I wanted to talk about Halo Infinite's delay to 2021, and curious to what the team's thoughts are on why they delayed it. Um, how does that impact Xbox One, or excuse me, Xbox Series X sales? Um, so a little disappointed myself. I don't know how they're going to sell this console without a launch title. It's like having a new Nintendo without a Mario. So what do you guys think?
I personally think it's probably a good idea for them to delay it because it was not looking that impressive. For this is going to be their flagship title for this ultra powerful system, and it didn't really look better than an Xbox, a standard Xbox game. So for them not to take the time and do it right, I think they would have hurt themselves by delaying it. Makes sense.
So you think that's the key reason they delayed it is because it looked like
This is their flagship title on a ultra powerful, expensive system, and if you can't justify a game looking better than the system you already have, what's the point? I think in the long term, Xbox's strategy is not PlayStation's strategy. I don't think they really care about exclusives. It's going to be on the PC also. Most of these games that are coming out on Xbox, you can play on PC. They want you just playing somewhere in their infrastructure. It doesn't really matter to them if it's on PC or Xbox. So I don't see this being such a killer like everyone else is stating. PlayStation is known for the exclusives. You have to have a God of War. You have to have one of their titles. It's the very reason for buying their system. Microsoft failed this generation. So I really feel that they're really going for a broader, hey, if you're playing anything, as long as it's one of our games, we're fine. So I think that really means that they don't have to be so reliant on launch titles.
I think that's a fair assessment, especially after looking at putting with the new xCloud, which I have on my list to talk about too, but that's going to be can be delivered to any platform. So it looks like they're heading to Xbox, and I think Phil Spencer even said this, is it's going to be a platform or a service that runs on any device, not just dedicated hardware like an Xbox. So like I said, a PC, an Android device, of course, there's all this drama around iOS devices where Apple will not allow them to put it up there because they want to rate each game individually and control each game individually versus having one app. So I think they're just looking at Xbox as live as a service. It runs on all these devices. You can play your games wherever. It is a little disappointing. And I think if this game is going to have anything to beat, it's going to have to be Halo 3 that they're going to have to beat as far as story and I mean, Halo 3 graphics, they look a little aged now, but the story and the music behind Halo 3 is just it's hard to beat that level of quality, at least from my perspective.
Well, I look at it this way. I'm mainly a PC gamer. If I go spend $600 on a new graphics card and the games that are especially made for that new graphics card don't look any better than the $300 graphics card I had before, why did I waste the money? The Xbox really is touting its power and its graphical power. It's more powerful than the PlayStation as far as the numbers go. And your first opening title looks like an old game. I don't think that would sell very well. So it makes sense to me that the game needs the polish that it needs to look correctly. Now, what does that mean for their launch? I have no clue. I don't know if they're going to pull some other game out. They are saying that some of the older games will look better on the new system. I mean, in theory, if you're running a game on a more powerful hardware, you should be able to change some of the settings to make it look better. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what else they can do. But they can't have this title come out and everybody just goes, nah, because it would really, I think that would really hurt the brand.
I don't disagree. First of all, they had to know that it did not look that good, and then why they would think it would be okay to demo that blows my mind. And then I also wonder if they had to drop the quality in order to get the full 4K experience at 60 frames per second or whatever they were promising. They said, well, we have to drop the quality to be able to get this. Maybe people won't notice. I don't know. It blows my mind. I didn't think anybody would notice.
Well, wasn't it? I haven't read much on it or looked into it at all, but I've read a bunch of reviews about that tech demo or whatever it was. It wasn't a complete remake of the game.
Yeah, supposedly they're not using an updated engine. But once again, I've only heard secondary thoughts on that also. But from what I understood, they're using the same engine as the last game, and it just seems, once again, if you have a powerful computer, you can make most games look really pretty, even if it's not a up-to-date game. You can run it in 4K. It's running at 120 frames. But this is literally their flagship. If it doesn't look any better on this than a normal Xbox, what's the point? How are you convincing me to go spend $500 to $600 when it looks the same as I mean, obviously it's a new game, but if it physically looks like the same game without any improvements, I don't see how you make that sales pitch.
Well, you're not spending $500 to $600 to play that one game.
It's a flagship title, though. It's one of the reasons why you're dropping $500 or $600.
So, I mean, one thing, there's going to be, it's like PlayStation. When they come out, there's very few titles, and then they build up the library over the next 5 years before they want another $600 from you.
But I would like to think this time's going to be a little different, because this is going to be the first time that, well, especially in Xbox, you can play all of your old games. You should be starting your Xbox, what's it called? Xbox X, whatever the new name is going to be, with all of your old games. In fact, it's supposed to play every Xbox game that ever came out. You would think they could make them look a little prettier for $600.
I mean, but you're limited by the technology at the time too. So
Sure.
you can only polish a turd so much.
That's true.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see how November shakes out with this, and if they're going to actually sell a lot of consoles. It's, I'm thinking about, am I going to do this or not without a Halo title? Maybe, I don't know. And really, the only thing I really play on my Xbox these days are the Halo games. I go back in, play some campaign, and enjoy that nostalgia of playing many years ago. But I don't know if I'll jump on the bandwagon right out the gate or not. Maybe. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see. What say you, Cordan? Caught you at the wrong time.
I'm like, oh man, I didn't even follow. I had to look up I'm reading the article as you guys are talking about it. I so looking at it from this article's perspective, and I don't know the validity of it. It came from The Verge, which is not one that I read on a regular basis, but I've heard the name enough to know that it's pretty legit.
They know how to build a good PC.
Yeah, so they're blaming, COVID-related impacts and all this stuff. So I think they're using that as a scapegoat for what Alston was talking about, where they just didn't get to the point in production where they wanted to be from a visual perspective and using the machine's resources properly. And I think they're using the pandemic as an excuse for being lazy, or perhaps they lost some of their people to other developers. Who knows, right? The business part of it probably had a lot more to do with it than a pandemic, in my opinion.
I can tell you one thing. I've been disappointed in 343 since they took over the Halo franchise. It seems like, the Master Chief Collection, they just stumbled with that. It just seems to be one problem after another with the various games. Halo 4 and 5, they look great, and they look great on the Xbox One. But it just seems like they just continue to stumble after taking over from Bungie. Maybe Bungie is just that good and they're hard to follow, which I think they are. Destiny and these other titles they've done in the past, but it just seems like 343's kind of tripped themselves up quite a bit since day one.
Yeah, I miss the Bungie days of Halo. I remember, gosh knows when was it when the original one came out, and there would be a bunch of us jarheads in the barracks with long cables connecting our Xboxes up, playing multiplayer on original Halo. It was great.
Our tax dollars at work. We appreciate you, Josh. I'm just kidding.
I could take it.
Yeah, I know.
I remember when Halo was supposed to be an RTS that was coming out for Apple devices.
I did not know that until I watched a video that talked about how that was meant for Apple first, and then Microsoft snatched it up.
Yep.
And Steve Jobs was not happy. It's amazing if you go back and look at those old videos how well. Maybe I wouldn't have thought this when it came out years ago, how terrible it looked compared to today. But, I don't know what I would have thought back then. But I do remember Halo in the first original Xbox being amazing, the graphics being awesome, and of course Halo 2 come out. It's like the soundtrack is amazing. We need Marty O'Donnell back as well. So maybe one day after Bungie gets, I'm sure they're sick of Halo, and maybe one day when they're sick of Destiny, they'll come back to Halo, and we'll get Marty back, and we'll do it like we used to do it. So who knows?
The last Halo game that I actually even enjoyed was probably ODST.
ODST was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Like Richard was talking about the story, and you have an actual campaign. That kind of stuff doesn't really exist anymore. So I've kind of fallen out of favor of games that don't have a good story and a reasonably lengthy campaign that's going to keep me involved for, several hours at least.
I think a lot of developers run into that issue. I know one of the Battlefields didn't have a campaign at all, but I played online. I don't care about a campaign. And you split your resources doing one or the other.
That's the service strikes again.
I like both. It depends on what kind of game it is, but I really do like both. But on the other hand, I didn't mind one of the previous Call of Duties having online multiplayer only. It didn't bother me that much because Call of Duty campaigns are essentially the same thing, just regurgitated over and over and over. Halo actually had good storylines. Titanfall has good storylines.
I think the single player is still important to at least some people who don't do a lot of online gaming, because obviously when a game gets to a certain, and I agree that these games are fundamentally online shooters, but Halo has always had a story, so it has to be a decent story. I mean, it's been telling a story for years now, and I think having a good campaign is crucial for Halo. Call of Duty, not really. I mean, most of that gameplay is multiplayer gameplay anyway.
Right.
Maybe the story died in Halo.
Well, hey, if they make it so everybody plays it online, I guess that's something.
It's getting a little far out there, but it's still interesting as far as the story goes. And the storytelling has been really good, and that's what's kept me in. I suck at multiplayer, so I just I don't want to play a game and get beat by a 10-year-old and feel bad about myself. So I'll stick to the campaign. So that's what I primarily look for. But yeah, I who knows? I look forward to it when it comes out. I hope it's worth the wait, and I'm sure it will be, given almost another year before they release it. So it should be interesting.
Richard, we're getting so old that the better graphics and sound quality don't really register anymore like it used to.
Because we can't see it or hear it.
All right.
Mm-hmm. We have to get hearing aids and bionic eyeballs before too long so we can really enjoy the fidelity.
All we have left is the story, my man.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I don't know if you guys saw the Master Magic game I was playing a couple weeks back. It's on Steam for like $5, but it's 8-bit graphics, and I play it for nostalgia, and it's hilarious. But it's the old DOS music and.
Get some Commander Keen up in this place.
Oh God, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Oh yeah, Commander Keen, Wolfenstein 3D. Everybody knows Wolfenstein.
Mm-hmm.
This was a big, you'll know the name, Microprose.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They made Kamachi, right? It wasn't a real simulator. I'm pretty sure they had a simulator brand from them too, right? Microprose?
I don't know.
I gotta look it up.
I'm looking it up right now.
He's multitasking.
I know when you launch the game, the little DOSBox window comes up in the background, and then it launches full screen in like 640 by 480.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they were involved with the Hasbro interactive games for a little while back in the late '90s, early 2000s.
My jam was the Sierra games. I saw there was a new Leisure Suit Larry that came out.
Leisure
Yeah.
Suit Larry.
That was the Sid Meier's stuff.
Sierra made SimCity? No.
King's Quest, Police Quest, Leisure Suit Larry. I'm trying to think of some of their other bigger titles, but they were a lot into the click-based adventure games.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't stand that. That's back in those BBS days, baby. Dialing up with a modem, 9600, 14.4.
Usurper,
Yes.
Trade Wars.
Sure.
I can't remember all the games I used to play on BBSs. Lord, Legend of the Red Dragon, Text Adventure. Yeah.
Man, to be young again. Our children don't have any idea.
Actually, BBSs are still up and running. You can connect to them using browsers now.
Oh yeah.
I get extremely bored sometimes. I don't.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Not me. Not me. Who's got a topic? Anybody else got another topic? We want to move into something else. I've got plenty. If somebody else has anything.
Well, I have one. Video
Go ahead,
cards.
Austin. Oh yeah, that was one of mine.
This is a PC thing. So it looks like they finally announced some of the new cards that are coming out. NVIDIA, this right now it's all rumors, but NVIDIA has set a absolute date when they're going to, well, at least everybody believes when they're going to announce these cards. Big Navi is the AMD version of the cards. They look like they're getting pushed back till October. So it looks like NVIDIA is going to have free reign. The real question, all the big gamers have been waiting for an updated card for a little while. The 2080 series came out. They were a little more expensive than everyone was expecting, but very powerful cards. And they're saying this generation is going to be double the power of last year's cards, which is a huge increase. Usually it's only 10 to 15% difference in card performance. So this will be a gigantic leap in performance. But everyone's saying they're going to be expensive. So really going to come down to what these cards cost. It looks like I think the top end card is supposed to be $12 to up to $2,000 for the top end card.
The 2080 Kingpin edition from EVGA was $2,000, and these next generation cards are supposed to be more affordable. I mean, we don't have any figures on that yet, and performance figures, it's all paper, but they're saying it's roughly 30% better, and you'll be able to run your ray tracing and everything on high and get your frame rates that you currently get with ray tracing off now. So 120 frames per second at 1080p with ultra details turned on. That's pretty impressive.
I thought we were supposed to be trying to finally reach 120 frames per second and dedicated 4K.
I mean, you can melt your PC down, I guess.
Well, my 1080 Ti can do 60 at 40, but it definitely can't push into anything faster. 60 frames per second at 4K, but it can't do 120 to 260. And these new cards are supposed to be able to handle that, but we'll see. I mean, really, what it all comes down to is price. Price is always everything.
And it's all paper launch at this point. We don't know any specs. I mean, you've got your speculation, but I've watched all the guys talk about it. I've read the articles, and yeah, they look more powerful, but again, you can put something on paper here and actually have something here that doesn't live up to it. So we'll see in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess if the top end card is $1,200, that's $300 less than the 2080 Ti was.
Yep. Well, Big Navi, even if it doesn't directly compete, hopefully will force them to lower some of their prices. So, but the fact that it's not coming out for months later, the pent up demand, I believe people are just going to run out and buy the NVIDIA card anyway. But we'll see. It'd really be nice if you can get decent prices on these cards. Dropping $1,000 on a card is not pleasant.
Yeah, but like my 2080 Ti that I have now, it's still usable. I can run Call of Duty streaming and playing 150 frames per second at 1080p.
Sure.
And so then a lot of people will go out and buy AMD just because it's more affordable and you get close to the performance, which again is a good option, and it creates some price competition.
Well, they never had any competition before. Every time AMD was supposed to compete with them, they always fell way short. So I am hoping that there'll at least be some pressure this time, because once you have a monopoly, your prices go nuts.
Well, they're mid-range cards, the 5700. They competed neck and neck with NVIDIA's mid-range cards to where they had to release the super editions.
True. And that's where the money really is. Most people don't spend $1,200 on a video card. They spend $500, $300. So, yeah.
Finding a 2080 Ti in stock was actually a challenge, even at the $1,500 price mark.
Yeah. Not pleasant.
There's those of us with no kids that will drop $1,500 on a graphics card.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
What, the no kids part throw you off?
Josh has got enough for you and Austin to add some.
We rent them out for parties.
Maybe around tax season. Yeah, that was going to be one of my topics.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I'm an NVIDIA guy. I'm a hardware guy, so any new hardware is great. That was going to be something I wanted to talk about, but we actually have a firm date, and it's just been speculation for months now, and I think we're just eager to put our hands on it.
Somebody's trying to mug everyone's wallet this year with new consoles coming out, new video games coming out, new brand of CPUs coming out this year. It's all about the money.
But I think a lot of places, kind of harkens back to the Halo, but the COVID thing has had impacts on everything, from manufacturing to software programming to everything.
Yeah.
I would imagine it'd be very difficult if they've sent all, let's say, for example, 343, if they've sent all their employees sent them home, I'm sure it's probably pretty difficult to take large assets for a video game and then work on them remotely, say over a VPN. Even if you do have gig internet, I'm sure that's probably very difficult. And then if you make staff come into the office, and then how are you doing that? Are you social distancing, mask? Are you doing half the staff one day and then half the staff the next? It could easily double your time. I have a friend of mine who's an aerospace engineer, and they sent him home to work, and it was extremely difficult for him to design rotor blades for helicopters remotely because of the lag and over the VPN and bandwidth connectivity. So this pandemic is probably going to change a lot of things when it comes to internet connectivity. So we'll see. Maybe they'll start pushing more bandwidth out, especially and that's a whole other topic on itself, right? For like at-home schools out with people who are way out in this country, how do they handle good bandwidth? One of our members who just dropped off, barely getting anything in his house where he currently lives. So I don't know. Maybe
I'm hoping that's one thing that this pandemic has shown. They dropped the bandwidth caps on most ISPs, and the internet didn't die. Why do we still have that? Why can't we have high-speed internet? The government's been giving all these ISPs money for years to expand their networks, and like we were talking earlier, my neighbor can get 3 megabyte DSL. I worked for them 10 years ago, and that's the best they can do out here still.
Like I said, the pandemic has at least shown that when something is computer-based, you usually can. There's definitely specialized cases, but you can find a way to make it something it's workable. It's not always perfect, but you can do remote education. You can do remote work. I think a lot of people, I think this pandemic has moved the concept of remote work 10 years into the future. I mean, I think going forward, there'll always be remote work now, even after the pandemic is resolved. The schooling, education aspect, I mean, I think we're all sort of going through this educational aspect with our children to make sure that they're able to work remotely. Well, okay, some of us are going through this to work remotely. So, I mean, I think in a weird way, this pandemic has pushed certain things forward, not always in a good way, mind you, but it has pushed the concept of being remote. I'm not sure if that's completely positive, though. Working from home really sucks sometimes. It's great not having to commute, but there's definitely some downsides also. But I think this revelation wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. This is something that was pushed forward because of this issue.
I saw a meme and it said, "Who is responsible for your digital transformation?" Option 1, CEO. Option 2, CIO. Option 3, COVID-19. And I mean, we all, well, except for Josh, work for the same place, and overnight we already started working from home. So um, I agree with you, and there's really no sense for people to go back to the office if you can do your job remote, maybe for hoteling or things that need to be done. But I mean, Twitter's already moved their entire organization to remote work. Why return back to the office if you have it all under control? I mean, we've not skipped a beat at work. Um, it's going to be very interesting, and I'm trying to wrap my head around what's going to shake out after when this thing's kind of settle and we're back to whatever's a new normal. But what does life look like when everybody is? And honestly, listen, if it gets worse and school shut down completely, and you go a whole school cycle like that, do you think we'll ever open schools back up again?
I don't know. This is the issue that I'm running into with the concept. There is a social component to our work and school, and losing that is definitely not good. I mean, yes, I can work remotely. I'm a Windows administrator. 99.9% of everything I do, I'm literally remoting in anyway. That being said, though, when I need help from somebody, it's like, oh, I got to schedule a meeting so I can talk to somebody, which would normally just be getting up and walking over to them and saying, hey, I need help with this. For my daughter, she's been in COVID hell for a little while now because she's not being able to play with kids like she would want to. And that social aspect of being able to just play with kids randomly is gone. So, I mean, like I said, I definitely see the importance of being able to do this remote work, but I definitely see that social loss that happens with it, and I'm not sure how to make that up.
Well, from a work standpoint, let's say you and I, how we work, and even Josh at his job, and DJ, you know, that getting up from Cubeville, you just walk over to your coworker and pop in. I think for us, that could be a culture change and then maybe a technology change on dropping in. Maybe we're not using the right collaboration tools to collaborate, and then also culture. Um, Even today, I still see people still blow me up an email. I'm like, please send me a message through our collaboration tool because it's much quicker. Why are we still using email to carry on a conversation? But um, I think that's a culture thing. Kids, I agree with that. Of course, I do enjoy the social aspect of being physically at work and being around people. But I'm at home around my wife and two children all day, and then we get out. But it'll be very interesting to see what shakes out after a year, how our kids adapt from not having all the social interaction. Well, even not even kids, us as adults, right? What changes about us and what looks like after the fact when things are safer to go back out. How does that impact our children's growth and socialization and the things that come from socializing? Speech. Think about how much kids learn from each other by talking to one another.
I'm not sure if that's a negative.
That's true. It depends on what your kids are saying. So I don't, I keep trying to think of science fiction movies who've covered topics like this to kind of get an idea how things are going to shake out after. It's just, I don't know.
What was the Bruce Willis movie where everyone was a robot because everyone left their house and it was I can't remember the name of the movie.
It's not Avatar. It's
it wasn't a big movie, but it was like everyone uses VR. Everyone just lives at home and they use their robot avatars to actually interact with each other. I don't remember the name of the movie.
I know what you're talking about. I enjoy that movie. Surrogates.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting concept.
It's called Surrogates.
Surrogates. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's
I'm still waiting for Ready Player One. Once we get to VR, it gets to that level, then I can lock myself in my room. But we're not there yet.
That's when I'll buy the VR.
Well, but things like this are being caught at home will move stuff like that forward, unfortunately.
That's true. That's true. VR is doing actually pretty well right now.
Yeah. And you look at our community. We live in a small town in East North Carolina. I mean, I say small, it's 100,000 people, a university and a community college, a very large hospital, a large just some manufacturing. Um, how quickly all of these mom and pop shops went from no online ordering to online ordering with curbside pickup. I'm like, where have you been?
Yeah.
Where have you been for
Why
5
were you
years?
waiting?
Yeah,
Why were
why
you
were you
waiting
waiting?
to do that?
10 years ago, you could have been doing this. Alston, you come from the New York area. That's probably that's commonplace up there. California, commonplace. Why has it taken us 10 years? Why did it take us? I'm like, you could have done this at any point in time.
Well, Amazon is ruling the world now, and I think Amazon has been the biggest winner of this issue. I'm really hoping that other companies will, at least get the concept of you should be able to ship your stuff if someone's not able to go into your store. Because, I mean, even outside of this issue, it just a lot of stores when you go into the store, you're like, yeah, can I get this? Oh, we don't have it in stock, but you can order it online. If I wanted to order it online, I wouldn't have come into your store. That sort of defeats the purpose. So I really hope that people are getting that concept down, that they can sell stuff themselves. Because I mean, even in my family, it's like, oh, we're gonna have to buy that online. I'm pulling up Amazon now. There's other stores out there other than Amazon, right? Amazon doesn't sell everything and not at the best price. But what? Something other than Amazon? So I don't know.
I don't know either. I did see, and this is random, but I did see where Amazon is now picking up closed Sears and JCPenney
Yeah, I heard that also.
buildings to do warehouses.
You think that we're going to get one in our town?
I don't know.
There's a giant Sears that was out of business.
It went out of
If
business.
it'll go, if it goes anywhere, it'll go up in Rocky Mount, which is near the one of the main Eastern North Carolina U.S. Postal Service hubs.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I-95 too.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
We got a bunch of Corning and a tire manufacturing place went up in the Tarboro Rocky Mount area not too long ago.
What did the Sears close here?
Yep, I think so. Finally,
Wow. See,
it hung on for a while.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know that. Austin doesn't know that, and Josh, you may not either. I know DJ knows, but that used to be a mall, and Sears was at one end, and was it Belk at the other?
No, that was a mall.
That was a mall.
Yeah,
An arcade in between.
What was it? It was called East Carolina Mall or
East-
whatever, right?
And the sign is still there. So if you go to the Lowe's, there's a sign right there. That backfield says East Carolina Mall, and it had arcade, had Aladdin's Castle, used tokens. Man, that brings some good memories back. No food court though.
They did have Chick-fil-A.
They did have a Chick-fil-A and a pizza joint, but not a
Wow.
proper.
Since I've lived here, that's always been separate stores. I never knew they were even connected.
Yep, all that was connected. It ran parallel with the road. So Sears was at one end, and then at the other end was Belk, and then you had all the other stuff in the middle. So
yeah, I didn't start coming to Greenville until 2004, 2005, and we mostly stayed towards the clubs and bars. We come from Cherry Point, and we'd go dance and have dinner and drinks downtown. Downtown was bumping. We didn't really venture out into the other parts of Greenville all that much, but I do remember. My wife probably has pictures, and there's stuff floating around the internet of what it used to look like. In fact, here's another cool thing. I don't know if you guys knew. So if you go up Stansburg and you're going to get on a 264, if you're going to get on the bypass, well, at that light where there's the light before you go to Stansburg, or the light before Stansburg ends, it turns into 264, and you have to take a left to go back onto Stansburg. That used to be, if you went straight, you would have ended up in the woods. There was nothing there. It was, farmland and woods, absolutely nothing around it. So I saw some aerial footage of what it looked like, and that wasn't that long ago. It was within, maybe Richard, your parents' lifetime, when that used to be woods. So Greenville, Winterville, Ayden even, and Kinston all the way out to Kinston. That the hospital in Greenville at Biden used to be the county hospital, and CenturyLink building the infrastructure to support the businesses and the university and the schools and all the other things that came to Winterville Greenville area. Most of the network infrastructure that was laid by CenturyLink in Eastern North Carolina was, if I'm not mistaken, paid for by the hospital throughout the years. And I guess everybody reaped the benefits of it.
ECU was a big chunk of that too. They've got I think a 25 meg pipe right into their central campus.
Yeah, it's interesting too. If you wanted to talk to somebody who knew a lot of the history, he used to work at Vidant, and he works with me now at our company. Mark Proctor, he worked for CenturyLink for many years, and he would just tell us the history. He knows the history of the network infrastructure in this area, all the way from 95 east, essentially the entire eastern half of the state, all the way to Outer Banks.
Was that back in Carolina Telephone and Telegraph in Tarboro?
I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
That's what it was before CenturyLink or whatever it was before that, or Sprint or whatever it was before that.
It's been named several things.
We got a little off topic there, whoopsie.
Yeah,
that's
all right.
my fault.
I did have a couple other things.
I'm good at getting people off the rails, man.
I'm trying to bring us back here. Eve Echoes. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Released yesterday. It's a mobile game that's related to Eve Online, and you play it on your phone. It launched today for iOS and Android.
Check it out.
It's about as close as you can get to playing Eve on your phone. It will kill your battery.
I'll look at it later.
Mm-hmm.
Played in the beta, and it was pretty entertaining. It kind of rekindled my interest in Eve because I've been playing Eve since 2006. So it kind of reignited the old spark of, oh yeah, I remember when you first started out, that was really fun and that was entertaining, and then it got old quick. But I've been playing for so long that it just kind of was like, okay, I remember why I quit doing this stuff in this area of space and moved out to do other things with larger groups of people. I think the largest battle I've been involved in had over 6,500 people, and each one of those people is a person.
Yeah, those are massive battles.
I swear, I think I've played this on PC.
Yeah, Eve's on PC.
I'm checking my Steam inventory right now to see if it's still listed.
I think it was on Steam for a little while, and then off and then back on. It's been around for a long time. You can watch the servers slowly die as that many people try to get into a system and do things.
Yeah, I did have it. I have it in my library. It's just not downloaded.
It's the one that has there's a graph out there talking about the learning curve where it has a little bulldozer up top and it's pushing people off the cliff. That's the learning curve.
I think that's why I uninstalled it, because I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. Come on, guys. I started playing on an Atari 50, was it 52 or 5600? 5200? Had the trackball and the joystick. I don't know if you guys even remember that.
2600.
2600, yeah, that's what I started on.
We had the other one, the one that came out after that, 50 something.
The one that had the big pad with the numbers.
Yep.
There you go. Put the link in Twitch for the learning curve JPG.
Nice. I got a Commodore 64 in a closet.
If it still works, it's worth something.
Actually, it does not work, unfortunately. I'm not sure why it doesn't work, but it's still in the box. It's not worked in 40 35 years probably. I remember we had it
Wow.
and it worked, and I would follow the book and write the programs and do things on it, and then it quit working. We sent it off for repair, and it didn't ever work. I don't know why my parents bought it. I think it's cool. I'm glad they did. That's not when I got hooked on computers, but it's just interesting. Maybe one day I can have it taken a look at and see if I can get it to work. I'll bring it in and put it up on the shelf so we'll have it for next stream.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
A prop.
A prop, yeah. See, I got my other prop back there, my Transformers poster.
Love it. I was looking at it.
Mm-hmm. I got some more. I have that in my son's room, and I decided to take it out to put it in here. He didn't like it. He told me not to take his poster, but he has 2 others. So I'm raising him right. Who's got next?
I don't know. I have no tech news. I've gotten out of the tech world, at least new tech. I've gotten more into the photography, videography, and post-processing, editing stuff, which brought me more into the, I guess, PC hardware world more than games. Everything you guys were talking about frames per second, frame rate, resolution, and all that stuff. It's more interesting to me. I wanted to add something back then, but I didn't want to cut you guys off. When you guys were talking about, 4K, 120 frames per second. So right now, what do I have? I have a i7. I just bought a new laptop to take with me on the road to edit photos and video while I'm out, so I don't have to wait till I get home. But it's got a 1060. I don't even know what I have in here. Anyways, it was a good deal, right? So I bought it. It says, this is what I want to do. Sell me something that's going to do it, and this is my budget. And he did, so I was like, cool, deal. And I brought it home, and it works great. But so the frame rate, let's get back, frame rate and resolution. So say you have some footage, whether it be real life taken with a camera or video game footage or whatever, and it's shot at 29.97 frames per second or 24 frames per second, which is more standard in cinema. All right. Say you want to make it look really good in slow motion. Well, if you slow down, even just round it up to 30 frames per second. If you slow 30 frames per second down to half of the speed, it's going to be real choppy, right? Well, the post-processing that you could do, which is what I suspect PlayStation, Microsoft, a lot of these companies do, they can, I don't want to say AI, but anyway, the software actually fills in the frames that are missing to make it as smooth as possible. It takes an incredible amount of processing power. Graphics cards need to have that processing power to make it work. So I'm curious to go back kind of full circle to the very first thing you guys were talking about, graphics cards in the new Xbox and the power behind the new Xbox. Is the power being used to artificially create those missing frames, or is the machine actually pumping out true 120, 150 frame per second 4K resolution? You know what I mean?
Now, I'm not a video specialist. Isn't DSSM what's the technology that they're using to artificially place extra frames into a video stream? I'm probably wrong about the naming, but supposedly the problem that everyone has calculated is we're talking about $1,200 video cards, right? For theoretically being able to push 120, 160, 200 frames on a game. The consoles at most will be $600, and they're already saying that they can do 4K at 120 frames. Now, in theory, that should be impossible. The hardware shouldn't be able to handle that much data, especially based off the price. But games have a way of cheating, so to speak. They have multiple systems that are able to make the graphics way smoother than what PC uses that brute force way. And especially consoles have custom hardware. Everything in that system is made just for that purpose, when a PC can be used for so many different purposes. So I believe now, once again, I don't have the terminology correct, but I do believe that the artificial intelligence is able to make up some of those frames so they don't have to produce every single frame. So then that means that hardware is able to be more powerful without actually brute forcing its way through it. But I would like to check that to confirm that what I'm saying is correct. But as far as I understand, there is definitely a technology involved that can make fake frames that will make things still look as smooth if they were being actually processed to that level. Because in theory, no matter how powerful an Xbox X or a PlayStation 5 is, it should not be able to beat a $2,000 video card. But they supposedly come close. So I know they're using some type of technology to fill in some of those gaps of the frames.
Well, like the new PlayStation, I think Linus Tech Tips did a video on it. They had to re-engineer how they load things when they moved to the SSDs. Message. But they had to re-engineer how they do that, and it actually was a improvement on performance over the
spinning. They're going to be faster than even NVMe drives on PCs, which I find impressive.
Again, well, I'd like to see it. Can I touch it? I want to play with it.
I'm just saying that's what they claim. They said that their performance is better than an NVMe drive. And I know that they are using NVMe hardware, but the way they're organizing the data, it's so much more efficient that they should be able to beat an NVMe drive just pulling data off the screen, which should be impressive because NVMe drives are amazing.
When the new next-gen consoles are both using AMD's Big Navi, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's another thing. Big Navi is what's running those new consoles. So that's why everybody was so hoping that Big Navi, those video cards, would be impressive on the PC side too. But it looks like NVIDIA's pulling out all the stops, and NVIDIA's cards should still be faster. But we'll see. But I need to do that research on I know there's a new technology that they're supposedly using artificial intelligence
to
DLSS. Yeah, what was it?
Learning super sampling.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was just looking it up. I was going to tell you when you were done, but yeah. Okay. So the technology in the photo and video, or the video world, it's called optical flow. Same thing. It's doing the same thing that you would do in a video game or whatever. It's taking the frame right here and right here and saying what would fit best in the middle. It's really cool stuff. I mean, just pictures of my kids running around the yard or whatever. If I want to get like GoPro footage is a perfect example. You can shoot in 4K 60, right? But if I want to take that 4K and slow the 60 frame per second down to real slow, like if it's ocean water or a bird or something like that, that optical flow, and I use DaVinci Resolve, but Premiere Pro, you could do the same thing, and a lot of the programs do that. That technology is becoming more predominant, which is when you were talking about the new Xbox platform, I was curious. I said, are they really going to be able to do this with the hardware and that they're putting in this machine, or are they going to be using software to fix it and make it appear? Whatever they do, it does exist, and they can do it hypothetically or theoretically. But which way are they doing it? Are they going hardware, software? That you need the hardware to run the software, but you can get a lot more out of your software with the proper hardware and save some money doing it.
Consoles have always been able to because they're using specialized hardware just for a particular task. So they've always been able to optimize their hardware. But I think that software component really makes, like I said, the new video cards out, there might be a video card that's actually $2,000. And in theory, the new Xbox and PlayStation can frame-wise keep up with that. So there has to be a way for them to cheat, so to speak, to get that speed, even though they're not using the same hardware.
So do you guys? So I read, it's interesting. I read an article today that there's rumors now circulating about the PS5 not really truly doing a full 4K, and that they're going to because it is less horsepower in the teraflops realm. It has less teraflops in the new Xbox Series X, and that they're suspecting that they're going to do this thing called checkerboard rendering, which
that's what they
before.
Yes, that's what they're using currently in their Pro model. They're not really doing 4K. They're doing checkerboard rendering, which means they're not actually pulling out all the frames. They're only doing some of the frames, and they're able to use software to make up those spots that they're missing. I was under the impression, though, that the PlayStation 5 was powerful enough to do at least basic 4K, or they're using checkerboard rendering for the 5 also?
Well, so this is just a rumor that some guy that's
Okay.
supposed to be an insider who's usually correct was on Twitter. You can look it up. Um, but it has an inside connection saying that the PS5 was actually going to be slower than the X. Well, it is already slower than the Xbox Series X,
Yeah.
but it was going to do 4K checkerboard rendering. Is how they're going to accomplish the 4K, and it's going to be more expensive.
So I think what everyone does seem to forget, though, is the consoles have never been truly more powerful than well, not true. I guess when they first come out, they're usually at least equal to a PC, if not more powerful. But console gamers are not as picky as PC gamers. I mean, before they're not even able to change their settings to make something that's more complicated, or you can take a PC game, no matter how powerful your system is, and turn enough options on that you can make it a slideshow, even with a really powerful video card. They're much more used to getting, this is what the game looks like, and you'll be happy with it. So you can use a lot more tricks, so to speak, to trick, and especially since most console players play on TVs, not really high resolution monitors with ultra high refresh rates, I don't think that's going to be such a negative if it still looks pretty. I mean, for the most part, if the game looks pretty in general, the PlayStation Pro doesn't do true 4K, but if you're looking at it from a TV, it still looks really good. Until console players start playing it on these high-end monitors, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. For the average person watching it on a TV, it's going to look just as good. But when you put it on a high-quality PC monitor, that's when all those little flaws really show. So I don't know.
Well, when so the 120 hertz refresh rate TVs are now becoming more mainstream 4K, and then you've got 240 hertz refresh rate TVs coming out, and this is when you're going to start seeing it, right? So you buy the console, you're playing on my old TV that's mounted right up here, the 55-inch at 60 hertz. I replaced it because when I was playing video games, I was seeing the stuff there, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, this does not work for me because I'm used to PC gaming. And like you're saying, you can't, the console guys can't change options to make the quality better on what they're seeing, where we can turn everything up to ultra high quality.
Yeah. You can make any game a slideshow if you really work at it.
Yeah, you can look over there and see the smoke coming off the 2080 Ti and just like, maybe I should turn it down a little bit. But that's a different thing too. When you use the GeForce Experience to configure your game settings, they seem to be confused on what most gamers want. If I'm playing an online competitive shooter, I don't need the grass to look pretty. I need to be able to see that guy more than I do. So I turn most of that stuff down to get more frames.
I agree 100%. I'm new to the GeForce family, so this being my first like proprietary graphics processing unit, I've never had one. I use regular integrated memory for graphics until I know I hate telling people like that, like you guys, that because they're like, God, I need a drink. But I never really cared until I got into the videography post-processing where I needed that dedicated power. But with the GeForce Experience, I did notice that I'm losing out on a lot by letting it take over what it thinks it should do for the best experience. That's not the experience you may want unless you're playing like Oblivion or Elder Scrolls Online or something like that, where you want it to look good because that's part of the experience of that kind of a game.
It tends to lean more towards making everything look phenomenal. The Battlefield 5 was a good thing because that was the first one that came out with the ray tracing, and you turned it on and you instantly dropped to 60 frames per second. But everything looked amazing. Like the fireball in the puddle on the ground reflection looked amazing. But again, when I'm playing online, I don't care about that. I don't need to see
You're
that.
not even going to notice it.
I'm not looking at the puddle.
Yeah. But if I'm playing like the new Devil May Cry, I want it to look really good.
Are there any single player game or a campaign? Now, the campaign mode for Battlefield 5 absolutely turned everything on ultra detail, slideshow, 40 frames a second, but it looked amazing.
See, the question is, can consoles do that rendering? Because supposedly they're going to be able to, and that's the real question. I mean, I think one of the biggest attraction point of a console is to be very pretty. I mean, I think that's one of the sales pitches, so to speak, especially when you're dropping $600 on new hardware. So that's what that sort of goes back to my argument with Halo. The game has to be more attractive than the last system. And because they don't have that option to tweak the settings like a normal PC would, it has to look pretty right off the bat, because it's how you justify, I spent $600, but man, this game is beautiful. I mean, to get a game that looks exactly like your old console, I think that breaks that immersion. So, I mean, everything I've read up to now, and I haven't been keeping up with the hardware as much on PC than console, is that they're supposed to be able to bring that. But I always figured they have to cheat a little, that they wouldn't be able to do a full. Because, like I said, if a 2080 Ti struggles with 4K at 120 frames, how's a $600 Xbox going to do that? But they have to have some type of trick in order to do that. So it doesn't surprise me with the checkerboarding. I was just actually surprised that that's actually being announced, because they didn't even announce that initially with the PlayStation Pro. They're like, oh yeah, it's 4K. Wink, wink. Yeah, it's 4K. It's good.
Pseudo 4K.
Well, and when you're saying $600 is a lot for a console like that, while it is, you're getting a basically floor PC.
Sure.
You're getting all your parts. You don't have to wonder if they're all going to work together. You don't have to wonder, well, if I bought a EVGA motherboard and a Asus graphics card, do they hate each other, or is it I'm going to have problems? You know that as soon as you plug it in, it's going to work. No questions asked. And every game you buy for it is going to work. You're not going to have to tweak it at all.
Sure.
And that may be where those consoles come into play, that you can get a game that looks so good, is because they are internally optimized. There's not anything that's not necessary. There's not any extra this or, they can really optimize. I don't know anything about hardware, so I'm completely guessing. Somebody's watching this and it's like, this guy's an idiot. Yeah, I'm an idiot because I don't know. I'm just guessing. But
no, that's how they're able to be cost effective, because they are built to play games. I mean, they're optimized for that. PCs have a lot of things in there that's not optimized just for gaming, obviously, and these things are built for games, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
When I've noticed this, the PC I gave away last year to the kid, and I don't mind him calling me and asking questions, but he's noticing the same things that we are talking about. He's like, well, what do I set my settings to? Because I'm having this problem with this game. And I'm like, oh, you're playing online. You need to turn the quality settings down because you want more frames per second. Well, how do I tell what I'm getting? Oh yeah, man, now you're getting into my realm. We can get into this. And but he went from playing mostly on console to, when he has the chance, he plays on PC now.
You mean he doesn't have a little window on the side of his PC that shows him the frame rates and all the temperature settings like somebody else we know in the top left-hand corner?
Nobody gave him an apartment case. I don't
know what you people are talking about. I know nothing.
Mm-hmm. Turn your camera around. No, I've looked at that case because that case is amazing and it's got good airflow. It's just, if you're going to put two computers in one case, that's the one I'd go with.
Well, the 1,000 model's out now. That's bigger than my case.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, it's like $400 or something. But that thing is massive.
Yeah,
I think it makes his case look small.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes, if anybody's wondering, I have a 900D. So that's the case I'm talking about. And I think the Corsair 900D and I think the Corsair 1000 model came out, which is double the width of my computer. And my computer is about 3 feet tall and about 1.5 feet wide. It's a decent sized case.
It's got dual 140s side
Yeah.
by side, fans across this way on the front of the case.
I bet your
Three.
whole.
Give me a second, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I hear somebody in the background. I wonder who it is.
It's
I'll be
3
right back.
fans tall and 2 fans wide.
I bet the house is completely clean because all the dust gets pulled into that machine.
But that's the 140 millimeter fans do a relatively slow RPM, so they're not loud and they don't tend to. They move a lot of air, but they don't tend to vacuum cleaner, dust buster like the old 80 millimeter fans. You know, you could tell when you cranked up a computer because you could hear it all the way across the house.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've been there, especially in the old PC repair days, man. I've come across some nasty machines.
It sat on the floor and right next to the dog bed, and
Oh, smokers. Whew.
The worst. People that smoked inside the house. I mean,
I was
I'm
a
not
smoker.
I'm not judging them. I'm just saying what it does to a PC.
Oh, it destroys it.
Yeah,
The
totally.
nicotine or tar or whatever it is sticks to the fans, and then the dust sticks up. You can't even clean it off. You can
No, you cannot.
toothbrush it, but it's yes, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, fellas, since Austin's back, it's 9:42, and I have dishes to do. Uh, I think we'll table the rest of the topics for another night. I appreciate everybody joining. I know Chaos and Coffee, or at least Ironmonger, has already jumped off the call tonight, so I appreciate her coming by. Anybody who's watching the stream, you can check out extralife.org. You can see the banner down at the bottom. Next Thursday, we'll resume our normal schedule of somebody's going to be playing a game. I don't know who it'll be. And then we'll pick up another episode of this in the next week or two. So stay tuned to what's going on. Again, thanks, everybody. Have a good night. We'll catch you later.
All right.